How y'all doing? All right, yeah, so this is going to be a pretty quick video. I just kind of wanted to talk about a few knives that I got in recently that I liked a lot more than I really thought that I would have. So, the first one up here is a little bit strange because this is actually a Boker Magnum. Now, if you're familiar with Boker knives, they have several different sort of manufacturing facilities and or grades. There's generally Boker and Soligen. That's also what you would call the tree brand sort of knives or whatever. Those are the ones made in their German factory. Then you have, which I haven't seen a whole lot of, but I know they're still around, is Boker Arbolito, which is knives that they have made in Argentina. And some of those are pretty good as well. And then we have Boker Plus, which, they basically they're knives that do a pretty good job with quality. And, they're made in a lot of different facilities. Some of them in Italy, a lot of them in China. There were a few in the U.S., but I don't think they've done that for quite a few many years. But then there's Boker Magnum, and Magnum are usually the super cheap, almost gas station level kind of M-techy kind of knives that are pretty but they're usually around 15 to 20 bucks. This one's a little bit different. In that, I did pay a bit more for this. I think this was about 55 bucks. It was funny. I actually, I looked at a few different places for it. Blade HQ had them, but they seemed to be charging a bit more than I really wanted to pay for them. And I looked at a few other places, White Mountain Knives and Knife Center and a few other places, and didn't really find them listed there at all. And then went on to eBay to see if I could find any of them there, and I did find one, and purchased it. And then afterwards realized that, hey, I bought it from White Mountain Knives anyway. I just didn't get it from the website. No discount. Don't really care. It's a super neat knife anyway. So yeah, this is a lockback. This is a Rangebuster, probably also known as a sodbuster for us Americans. But this is in snakewood, which it has some pretty darn good patterning going on there. The only other snakewood that I really have to compare with it is Tucson's, which I have some fixed blades as well as a folding slip joint with some of that on there. And this seems to have just a little bit different contrast, probably just due to the staining that they're using being a little bit different. But I am going to assume that it's from the same supplier. We got brass liners in here, a nice slicey blade. There are a couple of things that do kind of bother me. For one, I suppose kind of a rant about Damascus steel in general. There's very few companies that actually tell you what their Damascus is. Most companies are like, oh, that's Damascus steel. You're not buying it for performance. You're buying it because it looks this way. And, that's okay, but this stuff, like most other Damascus steel, is made up of layers. This one actually even prints 73 layers on here. Ooh. Whereas they could have easily taken that area right there to state what the core steel is of this. Obviously, it's not going to be something super amazing. A lot of times it's going to be a 9CR18 MOV. A little bit more of the upscale ones will use a VG10. Or what would probably be 10CR, 10CR steel or whatnot. It's just kind of frustrating that Most companies will be as damascus. Don't worry about it. It's steel. It looks shiny. But yeah, that and the fact that this is fairly large on the front of it, does kind of take away from it just a little tiny bit. I think it could have been, a little bit nicer if maybe they had that on the other side with the type of steel that it was. I don't know, something like that. But yeah, overall, I really do like the design. It's super nice and thin and slicey. I mean, this is a Chinese-made knife from a company that has commissioned them from them. But yeah, I mean, the Damascus patterning is even there, seeing in the nail nick. I'm glad that I don't have to use the nail nick outside of using it for the additional friction for pulling it out. So that's great. This thing does not have a half stop, unfortunately. That is something that I would personally like, but regardless, it's a very, very nice, comfortable size. The steel seems to be a pretty decent quality. Obviously, the patterning is always going to be a little bit different. And this one's got a whole bunch of dark on the front from one of the layers, and this side's a little bit different. It happens with a lot of these layered Damascus. Happens a little bit more with the kitchen knives, but those are probably just a little bit more ubiquitous than sort of these things. But yeah, I mean there are some issues, I suppose. There are micro scratches on the blade on both sides. It really does. Yeah, there's certainly one of them you can see there, and there's some over here. But it really depends on. Yeah, there you go. Really depends on how you hold that. Now, that kind of came that way, as well as, just little fit and finish sort of things that, some of the brass here has just a little tiny bit of a burr that you can feel. It's not sharp, it's just something you can notice. It's not on the bottom side. But, yeah, I mean, as far as the wood goes, it's very nice to look at. Feels very good. Snakewood, obviously, is well, maybe not obviously, but it is a very strong type of wood. It's kind of up there with some ironwoods and stuff like that. Like, it is very, very, very tough stuff. And because of that, a little bit like trying to deal with carbon fiber, if you are dealing with some tools that are a little bit dull, if you're working with different kinds of wood most of the time, you can end up getting pits and voids and all sorts of stuff like that in there. This one works out pretty darn well. I haven't really noticed any of that. But yeah. I know slip joints aren't exactly the thing that absolutely everybody loves, but this one was certainly one that I was intrigued with, and I'm happy that I picked up. It is very traditional, though, brass penned and all that sort of stuff, so you're not really taking this thing apart. I did, when I first got the thing, dropped some KPL in there and kind of worked it in. And worked it in a few times, and then I would notice some grime build up on the inside of the blade tang and whatnot, and clean that out a couple of times. And yeah, I mean, the action improved maybe marginally. It's fairly decent right out of the box anyway. But yeah, it's a fantastic little knife. Yeah, if you're looking to pick up one of these Rangebusters from Boker's German factory, they generally go for over $200. I pretty much guarantee that's a little bit overpriced. I do think they did some Boker Plus variants, but they were still well over $100, which is kind of crazy for me to think. But yeah, this thing is fantastic. Looks really attractive. I would have preferred maybe not having their Boker Magnum branding there, but otherwise, yeah, pretty cool. All right, the next one, I got this in just a little bit ago. Kerbland. This is the Tucson TS304 from Miles 1 Mokhtar. Now, yeah, I kind of had my eyes on this thing a little bit, but wasn't quite sure, and it was certainly going for quite a bit of money. I ended up actually picking this up as a return from White Mountain Knives. Someone returned it because it had some micro scratches in the blade, which I don't know if they'll show up super great on camera, but yeah, you can see some of the vertical ones going on there. And that really doesn't bother me at all. So, yay, I got this for a decent price. 80 something or other, I think, overall. But, yeah, the ergonomics on this thing were just a lot better than I think that they initially looked to me. This is a thumb stud only deployed knife, which I have absolutely no problems with. And the thumb stud is the stop pin. There is a stop pin here, but it's only engaging when the blade is closed. The thumb studs don't quite get to the line. There you go. But they kind of look that way. But yeah, that stop pin there is good. And it's kind of back in there, which means you can cut even more of a choil if you so like. I don't personally see a need to do that at the moment. But yeah. The front finger here will basically half interface with the blade and half on the liner, which I didn't really think was going to be super comfortable, but right where your finger ends up reaching there, everything is super nice and smooth. It really puts your thumb there in the jimping slight ramp sort of thing. And it's just really comfortable. We got some nice contoured scales with a little bit more of their better micarta and carbon fiber for, just some bolster flare sort of thing kind of going on there. I do like that they've used this kind of a better situation of micarta than some of the others. I might actually end up throwing a little bit of oil on there just because, yeah, this thing is just a little bit dry. But that's, micarta things in general. This guy's in 14C 28N. We got some nice, beautiful stone washing, but only on the flats, unfortunately. They still have it satined on the blade. I am actually thinking of doing a stone wash on the rest of it, just because I like the way that looks. So yeah, this one, just the ergonomics of it, just really blew me away because it really doesn't look to me like it's super comfortable in most of the pictures. But yeah, just that thumb stud action. You can Spidey flick it because the thumb studs are on both sides as well. Is really super nice. The pocket clip, yeah, it is one of those ball things. So this one isn't exactly the epitome of ease to get in and out of the pocket because it's not, sitting up above it, so you don't hear a little click when you tap on that. But I really haven't had all that many problems with it. But it's probably one of those things that might be a little difficult to shove into your athletic shorts if you have kind of a loose waistband or something like that. It might require just a little bit more force, but you're not going to take your pants off with it. But yeah, it's also fairly thick, and that definitely helps me with ergonomics for it. The blade shape, you have a whole bunch of cutting power right here. And for a hammer grip to be able to push through a lot of cuts and everything, pretty darn cool. The tip is a little bit up there. That's a little bit more of a hunting design sort of thing. So yeah, you do need to bend your wrist down a little bit if you're trying to do utility cuts with the tip of it. But that's pretty much just a design choice from Mazwan Mokhtar rather than designing absolutely every knife that he has to fall into, this is what everyone's going to EDC it for. I also got a little worried with the pictures on seeing this kind of lock bar relief and the way that is right there at the point. And yeah, it's super comfortable to actually close and everything like that. Certainly doesn't look that way, but yeah, I have absolutely no problems with it. I am still a little bit worried that this little thread of carbon fiber here would probably break at some point. But I've played around with it a little bit, you know, putting quite a bit of pressure on it and whatnot. And it feels solid for, you know, the maybe 2 millimeters thick that it is down there. But yeah, this guy really surprised the heck out of me. If we're looking for something a little bit smaller, though, there is this guy, and this is the TS216. This is Jelly Jerry design. This is known as the Lovebird, and yeah, I've actually seen some people not prefer it because they thought it was a bit small. Weirdly enough, I actually don't agree with that. But yeah, this thing's pretty interesting. Right there behind the edge, the blade is just a little bit up there. You could get yourself with it if you were doing something like trying to grab that from there. But since this is a thumb stud kind of knife, you're generally not going to have a whole bunch of your fingers back there as you're going into your pocket to grab it. This is a flat thumb stud, so it doesn't really have any contouring going on or anything like that. But it's got a lot of nice knurling on there. Super easy to deploy. And man, it just falls into the hand. Yeah, the finger thing there, I thought looked kind of small, but really works to be comfortable there. We don't have any jimping on the top, but I don't really think that's supremely necessary. And something interesting is this one has a wire clip. A la, you know, Spyderco certainly made those fairly popular a while back. Quite a while back at this point. Geez, yeah, I do remember them being on the Dodo. So, yeah, they're nothing new. Unfortunately, this one is, I mean, it's not the stiffest wire in the world, but it is very deep carry. It is actually implemented pretty interesting in there, where it's not actually screwed in at all. It's kind of held in a channel in the titanium, and then when it's all bolted together, that's kind of kept in there. And yeah, it's not going to go anywhere on you. But yeah, if you are looking for something that doesn't flex, this one kind of will on you. So that might be a little bit of a worry if, you know, you're doing something like warehouse work where you might accidentally catch the pocket clip on like a box or something like that as you're walking past. This one might not hold up nearly as well as some others. But all that being said, I mean, it's very comfortable in my hands. We do have a bit of a thicker toward the tip sort of thing, so this doesn't quite distal taper that much, or at least it kind of starts and then gets a little bit more thick out towards the tip to get that a little bit thicker there. And yeah, it's really darn comfortable. I don't know. I mean, I have quite large hands, as I've mentioned before. You know, they're not absolutely enormous, but I do wear, you know, extra large size work gloves. And yeah, this thing works out really darn well for me. I got some tape glue and some other crap on there, of course, because you know, I have used it a bit. But yeah, it's quite nice. I also thought that these jimping things were going to be uncomfortable, and also they're not. That does provide just a little bit of texture there, but works out pretty darn well. They have some at the end there too. You know, it's not particularly a knife that I would really want to use in a reverse hammer grip position unless you're really just trying to punch it into whatever cutting task you really have at hand. But yeah, this thing is, if it really exceeded my expectations quite a bit. This is one of my favorite Jelly Jerrys at the moment. This one's in 14C28N, but you know, and this also has a fairly low number on it, being the 216. However, it did just recently actually make it into production. So yeah, this was kind of in a design set with a whole bunch of the other Jelly Jerry designs that came out. This one just took a long time to get there. This one's got more of that shred carbon fiber kind of thing. And yep, they also did a pretty darn good job with that. Which, yeah, I've also mentioned before that doing the shred carbon fiber is always a little worrisome to me because it's really easy to get voids and everything in there. But Tucson does so much carbon fiber that you know, they have the tools and keep the maintenance on them to keep them cutting great. So yeah, that's another fantastic one. I'll set that guy aside here. The other one is another Jelly Jerry design, and this one is pretty big. This is the TS229. This is the Megalodon. And yeah, this one is primarily a front flipper, but it's also got a fuller in there for you to open that up with. And this also has a compound grind like that one does. And yeah, this one has a bit of that jimping sort of stuff that the Aurora looks to have as well. But the ergonomics on this one seem to be a lot better. Like, they don't feel sharp like the Aurora does to me. And I do like having the blade canted down just a little bit. Gets you a little bit of more leverage when you're pushing down through a cut. And yeah, this thing is pretty darn fantastic as well. We don't really have any internal milling going on there, but we do have, you know, carbon fiber inlays on both sides that you can see is milled pretty far down there. So this guy is, you know, decently light and nimble for it being quite large. No problems getting to the liner lock or anything like that. I would still probably call this a frame lock or a sub-frame lock or whatnot. And that's actually by far my preference. That way you don't have quite the problem of putting pressure on the lock bar when you're trying to do something like trying to roll something open with your thumb or something like that. Yeah, so this thing works out pretty darn good. The clip on this thing I actually do like quite a bit too. You have a lot of surface area there that interfaces with the pocket, and that's great. We have several different layers milled in there. As you see, we kind of have a little thing in the middle there. So we do have a bit of flex to this guy, so it is a little forgiving. Flexing to let it get into a pocket and everything like that. It is a bit long compared to a lot of other clips. I really don't have a problem with that. They do feel a little bit more structurally sound to me while they're sitting in my pocket than some of the more modern ones that keep shortening them up further and further. So, yeah, I really do like a whole lot of stuff about this one. This one's an M390. I don't think they've made a different variation of it. But, again, I could be wrong. There's always some sort of weird things that they've done as a few off sort of thing. Like I have that micarta one I had taken a look at just a little while ago. It's in 12C27. Which they kind of, what I'm assuming they did was do a few of those as a test run for some of their kitchen knives, and or just they had a little bit of steel left over from doing some of those kitchen knives that they've done in 12C27. One of them being this guy. So that's where I'm assuming that particular knife came from. They just had a little bit left over, so they figured, why not? And then I bought it, so there you go. But yeah, the front flipping on this one's pretty darn fun. You don't have a huge amount of jimping. These things aren't super sharp either. But because of basically where that is, it's just super easy to deploy. And if you don't like that, and you're not trying to show off to the camera or anything like that, then, then you can do the open with the fuller or whatnot fairly easily on this guy. So yeah, those were a few that I've gotten in that I was a lot happier with than I initially thought that I would be. The one that I think stands out the most as to why that I like it is probably this Lovebird guy here. I do like the idea of this wire clip. I do wish that they'd either harden the steel a little bit more or possibly use a little bit higher gauge for it. You can see that I'm going crazy, and that's not something that's happening. So never mind on that. But yeah, I really do like the form factor of this guy. It probably reminds me a bit, now that I think about it. What shelf do I have these in? That ain't it. That's not it either. Here we are. Probably reminds me a bit of the QSP Parrot. It's got around the same kind of dimensions, and I've really enjoyed this design. This one is it's a bit more upscale than that. Obviously it's got bearings in the pivot, whereas the bearings in the pivot, whereas the Parrot does not. And titanium, carbon fiber, and 14C28N, which it's kind of for my testing, I liken a lot to a stainless version of D2. It's right around there, if not just slightly under D2. But hey, stainless. So that might have something to do with why I end up liking this guy quite a bit. But yeah, I really do. And it's strange because it's not a large knife. I mean, we're talking blade length here of just right at 3 inches. It looks like it's a little over, but yeah, we got a little there. So yeah, just right at 3 inches, which is usually pretty small for the knife styles that I particularly like for full ones. But yeah, all of these guys are absolutely fantastic, and glad to have them in my collection. And yeah, if you are kind of looking into pretty much any of these, then I can certainly give my 2 cents and seal of approval and all that sort of stuff. Individual reviews for these things will be coming, but haven't really gotten around to them yet. But since then, I've just been enjoying with them, playing with them, cutting with them. All that sort of good stuff. But yeah, so this was kind of a fun thing. I do kind of want to kind of showcase some different knives here and there that really impressed me here and there. It's just kind of another idea for trying to get some videos out there, because sometimes it's rough to find something new for me to do a review on if I'm waiting on a whole bunch of stuff and whatnot. So it's just kind of some other fun content, and for talking at a camera, because well, I don't necessarily like the sound of my voice all that much, but I sure do like to talk. So all right, well, that's it for this video. It went on for a lot longer than I thought it was going to, but as I had already said, I do like to talk. So alrighty. As always, I appreciate y'all for watching. Have yourself a wonderful rest of your day, yo. Pizza.